everyone, and welcome back to Sunday Reads with Renee. My name is Renee here at Simply Renee. Thank you so much for tuning in. And before I begin, I just want to thank everyone who has watched, shared, liked, commented, and subscribed to my channel, as well as clicked the notification bell. I truly appreciate it, and I look forward to bringing you more content as we go forward. For today's Sunday Read segment, I'm going to be doing a double book review of Milkman by Anna Burns and In the Woods by Tana French. And these are two books that take place in Ireland. And with St. Patrick's Day coming up on the 17th of March, as well as Irish celebrations, I wanted to do a double book review of two Irish themed novels in this double book review. And before I begin, I just want to let everyone know that I'm going to be revealing plot points, therefore spoilers are ahead, and also I'm going to be using alternative words and phrases because of YouTube rules and regulations. And these two novels are, in my opinion, a little disturbing just based on their content, so there is a trigger warning there as well as I reveal some things in this review. And now let's get on with the reviews. First book review I'll do is Milkman by Anna Burns. And this book was published in 2018 and is a very well-written book and takes place in an unnamed city in the 1970s of Northern Ireland. And it takes place during the height of the Troubles. For those of you who are unaware of the Troubles, I'll leave some links in the descriptions. But it was about a 30-year conflict from the late 1960s to 1998 in which Northern Ireland and Ireland were in a lot of conflict, violence, and upheaval as a result of politics and so much more. But again, I'll leave some link sources in the description so you can read up on it yourself. Now, Milkman itself takes place again in the 1970s in this unnamed Northern Ireland city. And the main character is known as Middle Sister. She's 18 years old. She wants to live her life as normal as possible, despite the fact that there's this conflict going on. And she also doesn't want to conform to rigid ideals in the city, which make her someone that stands out among her community. In fact, that she also reads while walking also makes her stand out as well. And she's trying to live that normal life as much as possible despite everything going on, dating someone who she names maybe boyfriend in there because even though they're dating, he doesn't really want to commit or introduce her to his family. So as a result, there's a lot of things going on in her life as much as you can when you're 18 years old. But she ends up finding herself in a very disturbing, unsettling situation where a paramilitary officer who she calls Milkman starts to insult her, but also have an obsession with her, which leads to harassment and stalking. And as a result, she becomes very fearful of this person and also very intrigued in some ways. But at the same time, because of this situation where she's being harassed and stalked, some people think she's actually instead having a intimate relationship with Milkman, which isn't true. They're not having an intimate relationship. But as a result of that situation and that theory, it ends up becoming more gossip and hearsay in her town, and she becomes even more of a standout in her town as well. So Middle Sister finds herself in this predicament where she can't get out of completely because no one in the town is really helping her. She's also dealing with politics and violence and upheaval that are happening in the 1970s during this time. And also Milkman is a married person who works in surveillance, so it makes it even more disturbing. And I have to say, this novel itself was very disturbing in a lot of ways and has the dark humor, of course, but I found it disturbing just due to the stalking and harassment, the fact that Milkman is putting all these unwanted advances on Middle Sister, who clearly doesn't want it. So that's what I found to be the most disturbing part. But even more so, that some people thought they were in an intimate relationship, and that's what they thought. And I'm thinking, no, they're not in an intimate relationship. They're two people that are not together, and he's harassing her and stalking her. Can't you see that? So it's a lot of things going on in this novel that I thought were a little disturbing and unsettling. At the same time, it does delve into a bit on the politics, the violence. There's allusions to that in the book, and sometimes it goes a little further here and there. So even though I thought Milkman was a well-written book, it does have those disturbing elements to it. So these are trigger warnings if you decide to read the book. So it does have a lot of that in there. So it's one that I do recommend if you are an Anna Burns fan or curious about the book itself. But again, it does have a lot of disturbing elements to it, and it is very well written, but it's something that does have those disturbing elements again in it. The next one is In the Woods by Tana French, published in 2007. And this is a book that is part of the Dublin End Squad series that Tana French writes. And it's the first one in the series, actually. So it's a very interesting yet disturbing novel in terms of being a mystery thriller, but I do think it is very well written in its own way. Now, what happens is that in 1984, Adam Ryan and two other people his age end up going into the woods on this elite Irish estate. Hours later, Adam is the only one who comes out of the woods covered in blood with no memory of what happened. The other two are never found. 20 years later, Adam is now working as a detective for the elite Dublin M squad, and his best friend and partner is a woman named Cassie Maddox. They get along very well, have a good rapport. They're assigned to investigate the crime of what happened to Katy Devlin, age 12, who was M worded. And where it happened is around the same site of where Adam ended up going into the woods 20 years earlier, coming out alive. But the other two, again, didn't come out alive. They don't know what happened to them, and he has no memory of it. So it brings up a lot of PTSD for him, especially as he and Casey investigate this entire crime and try to uncover what happened to this young girl named Katy. And a lot of things happen, of course. He even goes into an addiction and a dependence on alcohol as a result. So Adam has a lot of issues with this, understandably. And looking back, you probably should have removed yourself from the case because of your PTSD, but this is how it goes in a lot of books. But what I do think was interesting about this book is how detailed it is in discovering the crime and what happens and what Adam goes through it. There's a lot of twists and turns in it as well. But I think one of the things about this book that is disturbing is just that it has a lot of violence in it, which happens in a lot of books, but it does stand out in a lot of the ways by the way Tana French writes it. I think In the Woods is an interesting book in that regard, and the woods themselves are a character itself because it has a lot of creepiness, darkness, and it provides a type of setting that really adds to this creepiness and dark elements of the novel. I did like the character of Casey. I thought she was very good, a supportive friend, and she cares about Adam, but unfortunately, Adam has his own issues and there's not much she can do to help him, only so much. And a lot of things do happen in this book in regards, and I think it is a very well written one with a lot of twists and turns. The only thing for me is that I found that when I read it the first time in 2019, I really liked it. But when I reread it again 5 years later, not so much. And I think it's just that I've changed a little bit where I think now looking back, it could have been a lot more said with less, but I do think the detail is very good. I think Tana French really does bring out elements of things that make it a little bit unusual and more related to real life, because sometimes things happen in real life that you can't explain and can't really remember, because Adam Ryan does try to remember this as much as possible, and unfortunately he can't. So I do recommend In the Woods because I think it is a very good book. I think it is well written. I haven't read the other books in the series, of course, but I do think it is an interesting Irish themed novel involving mystery, thrills, detecting as well. So it is one that I recommend if you're curious about Tana French's work and maybe you've had In the Woods on your to be read list so far. Therefore, I recommend it. And this concludes my double book review for this week. I realize it was a little bit choppy because there's so much I wanted to say, yet also so little because, again, both these novels are disturbing, but I hope it has led you to think about these books a little bit more. Maybe you've read them and would like to discuss them. Maybe you haven't read them yet and it piques your interest a bit. But again, trigger warnings, they are very disturbing novels, so just be aware of that as you go by. I thank you so much for tuning in. And now tell me what you think. Do you agree with me, not agree with me? Are there other books by these authors you would recommend in the comments section? Please let me know, and I welcome all discussions as always. I thank you so much for tuning in. Please be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the notification bell. I will see you next Wednesday on a regular video, Friday on a food video, and Sunday for another Sunday Reads with Renee video. I thank you so much again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye.